Today we're going to look at noun clauses that are used with infinitives and the word that. Before we move on to the new lesson, let's review what we studied about noun clauses last week. Last week we learned that noun clauses can begin with the question word, or they can begin with if or whether. Look at number 1. Does Anna need any help? This is a yes/no question. So your option here is to begin with if or whether. The answer would be, could you tell me if Anna needs any help? Or could you tell me whether Anna needs any help? Number 2, why did dinosaurs become extinct? This is a question that requires a long answer. So you will use the question word why in your noun clause. Could you tell me why dinosaurs became extinct? Don't forget, if the question is written in the past tense, you need to change the verb to the simple past. Number 3, did he forget? This is a yes/no question. So the noun clause is going to begin with if or whether. Could you tell me if he forgot? Or could you tell me whether he forgot? And the last one, how long should she wait for him? Could you tell me how long she should wait for him? Don't forget that in the noun clause, the word order is different than in questions. In noun clauses, the subject comes first, followed by the verb. Just like we learned in the last chapter with adjective clauses can be reduced to adjective phrases. This same idea can be applied to noun clauses. Let's take a look at how it works with noun clauses. We have to review what infinitives are. Infinitives are to plus a verb. An example would be to stay. Infinitives in English can act as the objects in a sentence. That means they can come after a verb in a sentence. Question words may be followed by an infinitive. Look at the example. I don't know what I should do. What I should do is my noun clause. I have a question plus subject followed by the rest of the sentence. I can reduce this by saying I don't know what to do. So I can take my noun clause and reduce it to the infinitive. Let's have some practice. We have learned that noun clauses can begin with question words, for example, who, what, where, and noun clauses can begin with the word if or whether. Noun clauses can also begin with the word that. Certain verbs in English are commonly followed by a noun clause beginning with that. The word that is usually used in speaking. For example, I think that you are very kind and respectful. The verb think can be followed by a noun clause beginning with that. Other commonly used verbs followed by a that noun clause include agree, feel, know, and remember. These are not the only verbs. Look in your books at page 257 to see a whole list of other verbs that can be used in the following way. Adjectives can also be followed by a that noun clause. If the subject of the sentence is a person, these adjectives can include afraid, amazed, certain, worried. For example, I could say, I am amazed that we can continue to learn even though we must stay at home. There are also other adjectives such as amazing, clear, important, undeniable that can also be followed by a noun clause beginning with that. These adjectives must take the subject it as opposed to a person. For example, it is amazing that you are willing to work so hard. Here are some things to remember about using that noun clauses. It is possible to use that noun clauses as the subject of a sentence. When this happens, that can never be omitted. It must be used. Look at the example. That this is a stressful time is obvious. In English, I could not say, this is a stressful time is obvious. That makes no sense. Often we use the fact before a noun clause that begins with that as the subject. Look at the example. The fact that we are not allowed to attend class in person shows how serious COVID-19 really is. On the other hand, that can be omitted in noun clauses when they are used as the object of a sentence. Look at the example. She understands that this is not an easy time. Because my noun clause is in the object position, I can remove or omit that. It's perfectly fine in English to say, she understands it is not an easy time. For additional practice with noun clauses using that, look in your books on page 258 and complete exercises 23 and 24. I also would like you to do page 259, exercise 26.